Hello, my name is Ioana Popescu and my company is called IP Corporation. I'm going to start by explaining what worked best for me in the simulation and what brought me to the top of the industry at some point in quarter 7. So as you can see on the second slide, in quarter 7 I had the highest quality index, highest morale, second highest productivity, and lowest accident rate, lowest turnover, and lower absenteeism in the industry. And starting on slide number 3, you can see quarter 1 and quarter 2. So at the beginning of the simulation, I decided to invest a lot into wage and into training and programs, but not much into staffing, just because I didn't have enough money left to invest in both. So I thought that it's better to invest into training and I purchased all the programs, since I believe they can highly improve the quality of a company, and also employees that are adapting to the strategy and easily understand it are more productive, and it also takes them a shorter amount of time to perform on the job. So as you can see, I was on the graph on the right, I was understaffed by 15,000 units, which is a lot. But as I said, I spent the majority of the money on benefits, training, and programs, which made my benefits, turnover, accident rate, and grievances have good rating, but also the unit labor cost, productivity, and overtime unit was in red, which I needed to improve. That's why on the next slide, you can see quarter number 3. This is when I invested $230,000 out of the total of $320,000 all into staff. I offered on top of that the tier 2 on health benefits, and I spent $104,000 on training. Going on to the next slide, I spent $145,000 on training, and I did make sure I have enough staff to perform all the job and increase the quality index. On quarter 5, which is the right graph on slide number 5, I spent an additional $90,000 on vacation, personal, and sick day for employees, and I also added an employee-funded plan. I strongly believe that highly valued employees work the hardest and are the most productive. And as you can see, my morale was 84, and then the quality index was close to 70, yes. So I do believe that these strategies were the ones that helped me have the lowest turnover, lower absenteeism, and the highest morale in the whole industry, while keeping the highest quality index. And I did struggle until quarter 6 with the staff. And moving forward from there, I said I'm going to make sure that all the time I'm going to have enough staff, but I'm gonna explain a little bit later what happened. On the next slide, industry survey, you can see that I spent $60,000 on training for new hires and promotions, and the industry average was $30,000. So mine was almost double. And this is where I made a mistake. In quarter 8, on the right graph, you can see that my training says $6. So instead of putting $60, instead of putting $60,000, I put $6. And that made my morale, absenteeism, and productivity to go down. And from that point, I did understand the quality of training, because it was kind of difficult for me to just bring the morale and the productivity up from that point. Going on to the next slide, slide number 7, with the summary. So I did notice that during the simulation, the special decision clearly affect the company. I was pretty lucky to only get only one special decision wrong, the one with Margaret and Beth, and deciding which one to hire, if to hire both, neither of them, or just one. And I made the wrong decision there. I only hired one of them, and then all my numbers went down from there. Also, if I were to start the new simulation again, I would make sure from the beginning I have enough staff and I invest into benefits and training. And I noticed later in the simulation that I should have always followed the tips. You can see on slide number 7 that, for example, Q3 quality is not as high as it should be. You might need to spend more on quality training. So somehow that is a clear guide on what to do. And at the beginning, I didn't read all the pages, so I didn't follow this exactly. And then in Q4, this is when I started to follow them. So for example, some supervisors are complaining that they're not getting enough training. So then I invested more into that kind of training. And then as you can see, Q4, 5, 6, and 7, my training keeps increasing. Q4 increased by 50,000, Q5 increased by 40,000, Q6 25,000, and in Q7 I increased the wages by 2%. So I did spend a lot of money into wages and training. On the next slide, slide number 8, what I wish I knew at the beginning of the simulation and I didn't was the share of payroll. So as you can see, 65% of the salaries go to level 1 and only 6.7% go to level 5. So what I could have done better is increase the wages or the benefits separately. And I just increased them as a whole, 2% for the whole corporation. And at some point, I think it was Q8, that I got complaints from level 1 workers that they are not getting paid enough. And this is when I started making decisions and only raised their salary. Moving on to the next slide, the offerings. So at the end of the simulation, I ended up buying the participation program, grievance program, new hires orientation, HR information, performance appraisal system. The only program that I didn't buy was the affirmation action program. On training, I spent higher than the average, as you can see in Q10. And then the benefits. I added additional holidays, employee funded. I had the tier number 3 for health plan. I added health, dental and eye care, wellness program, mental health program, substance abuse program, and term life and legal services. So what I found really interesting about this simulation was that how important is just a 1% increase in wage and what effect it has on the productivity, on the turnover and morale. Because for example, my parents, they have a small business, but I never really hear them talk about increasing the wages, increasing the benefits, increasing the training. And this simulation made me understand the importance of even on staff. For example, if my staff was a little bit under what was necessary, then the productivity would go down because you just overwork one person, which I think in real life, small businesses tend not to think this much about this aspect. Moving on to the next slide, and to just conclude my presentation and to just mention all my final results. I ended up having lower than the industry average unit labor cost, turnover, accident rate, grievance, and absenteeism, and higher than the industry average quality index, morale, and productivity. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with my result. The only thing I would have done differently is from the beginning have enough staff, and then in Q8 I made a mistake of putting $6 instead of $60,000 on training, and that affected my company for a few quarters. I would have done that differently. And also, as I mentioned before, I wish I would have increased the wages of the employees by levels and not by overall company. And then one more thing, the special decisions were really important, and I wish I would have paid a little bit closer attention to that special decision about Margaret and Beth, because that, along with the mistake I made for training, affected my final performance. But overall, I'm satisfied and I learned a lot from this simulation. So I hope you enjoyed my presentation. Thank you.